Welcome to Vermontitude, a collaborative effort between Great Eastern Radio, the Brattleboro Reformer, and BCTV to bring you the stories behind the stories on the topics you want to learn more about. Because there's always more, so there'll always be Vermontitude. Hosted by me, Peter Fish Case. Welcome to Vermontitude. New episodes drop every Tuesday and can be found by going to vermontitude.com, reformer.com, brattleboro.tv, and locally on Comcast Channel 1078. We come to you from our studios at the Innovation Box on Landmark Hill. I'm Peter Fish Case, and each week I cover the topics that are of concern to Windham County and the towns that reside within its borders. Joining us today, hoping to earn a seat on the Brattleboro Select Board, Tim Wessel. Well, you've been there before.
Yeah, it sounds like I have to earn it, according to your preamble there.
Everybody has to earn it, right?
Well, if I had stayed, you know.
Yeah, if you had stayed, you would still be earning it. All right, let's softball question. What's re-inspiring you, I guess we should say, to run for the Select Board? What specific skills and experiences make you uniquely qualified to serve in that role?
All right, well... Yeah, usually people say, why on earth would you want to run again?
But why are you running to it and not from it?
Exactly. Well, honestly, I wouldn't be running if I didn't feel like I was pretty good at it. Okay, so, as you know, I've served 6 years on the board from 2017 to 2023, really, the first part of 2023. And I was chair during 2020. And I think I'm pretty good at holding a balance and working out problems this town comes across from a pretty middle perspective. Lately, I've been using the term radical centrist.
Okay.
And so I am proud to be a radical centrist. I like that term, especially. It has some connotations, and it's a real thing if you Google it. The idea is that you take good ideas from the right, good ideas from the left, but you're not committed to, being a far left, far right. You're working out what works for people, real people, in the middle, and that's radical centrism. In Brattleboro, I think it works really well because if you're a centrist in Brattleboro, you are radical. Mm-hmm.
You can be.
There's a lot of people that don't have, let's say, political ambitions, if you want to go so far as running for select board with political ambitions. But I think people do, and I'm not an activist. And if people want to vote for activists, they know who to vote for. It's not me. Right. What they are getting with me is somebody who will be a voice for fiscal conservatism, fiscal restraint. And I think it's a good time for that because I spent a lot of that 6 years being pretty frustrated about some lack of fiscal restraint on the board.
All right. Seems like a good time to launch into the budget.
Sure.
All right. So let's so you talk about being fiscally responsible. Yeah. Do you feel that the current board is fiscally irresponsible?
Well, seeing as how I'm speaking to a current member of the board.
Where is he?
I'm going to be careful with my words.
No, don't be.
No, I don't think so. I think the current board has experienced a perfect storm of fiscal issues that I never experienced on the board. Now, if I were trying to tout my, absolute abilities to keep, taxes down, I might mention that when I was on the board for the 6 years I was on the board, we always kept it under 5% on the side of the town, separating it, of course, from the school side.
Sure. And people don't understand that's two separate things, and that has nothing to do. One has nothing to do with the other, other than the end user, which is the citizen.
Yeah, and kudos because this year, luckily, the school side looks like it's going to be pretty minimal,
right?
Maybe under 2% from what I've heard. So that helps. So your original question, I'm not trying to dodge it, but have you been irresponsible? No. But I think one more voice, and that would be my voice, watching out for the interests of the taxpayer will be valuable on that board.
Okay. I appreciate that for an answer, and I will accept it. All right. Let's Let's talk about public safety and things that were of a real burning issue through the summer, beginning of the summer as it rolled on. I think you might have been at a few of those meetings where we had over 100 people there, I think for like 3 or 4 meetings in a row, screaming about this, to do something. We did something. We passed it. It got rescinded. Where are you in the continuum of all that?
I am definitely in the continuum of continue.
Yeah.
The continuum of continue. Wow, I should sort of think about that
There's
phrase.
a T-shirt.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe for the back, not the front. Yeah, I'm supportive generally of the actions the present board took. I'm supportive of Chief Hardy. I was on the board that hired Chief Hardy. It was a good moment for this town. She's doing a good job. I think, and to be honest, when I got off the board, I tried for the first year to not really pay too much attention.
Sort of have to.
And just for your own sanity and family life, etc. So I don't know all the details of the current situation where we have the 3 and 3, if that's accurate. The 3 officers, the 3 Brat team people. Whether or not that was a little bit of an overreaction from a fiscal perspective is my concern, but not part of my, campaign because, but that's exactly what I would be there to take a very hard look at. Because when town staff comes to you and needs money for things, I think it's the board's responsibility to advocate for the taxpayers, for the residents. And of course, renters are taxpayers too, as you know.
Yep.
So you don't have to be paying out the check to the town for your taxes to be paying into that, and renters definitely pay. So I'm very supportive of the Brat team, very supportive of a lot of the moves, and so I come down on the pro-police, pro-civil order side of things.
Right. Okay. All right. Let's kind of drill into this one thing that I've been touching on it with a few interviews. It's come up time and time again, and that has to do with the human services part. And what I've learned, and even though, so I will admittedly sit here and say during RTM, I was part of the I was part of the RTM members when I was there. Advocating to go to 2%. And in recent months and doing my research, I have found that very few towns and municipalities do this, like really few. So where are you on the side of that?
I have found it very frustrating how the RTM as a body has been continually raising that percentage bar. We don't have to do 2%, but it did sound like a fair way of, let's settle on a percentage of each previous year's budget. And that's how we ended up at arguing more about percentages than actual money.
Right.
We don't have to do it that way. We can decide that's not how to do it. But when you're talking about 2%, which is where we're at now is up to 2%, I think from the language, that ends up being a lot of money. It ends up being, almost $500,000. And that is way out of whack with other towns. But to answer that, let me just go back a little bit because, so I've been a RTM member for quite a few years. I haven't been able to figure it out yet because I have to go through my old emails, but I've been involved well over 10 years. It's probably more like 12 years starting at RTM until now. Okay. And then, of course, when you're on the board, you're ex officio RTM. Right. Every single year, I can't remember a year where I haven't either stood up and argued it or argued it in a letter to the editor that the amount we're giving to human services after 2018, where it was sitting at 120, a fixed amount, right, for quite a few years, would go up and down a little bit. I think it went down to 100 at one point and went back up to $120,000. I was arguing that that was an acceptable amount, but going above that is just too much. And the reason I was arguing that is because it is not a primary or a secondary function of municipal town government to be giving charity. Now, human services is charity because it's not the target, not the agreed upon purpose of town government. Town government does primarily safety with fire, police, things like that. We do all the roads. There are sets of things that the town government does. Secondary would be quality of life issues like the library, an amazing institution that we should all support with our taxes. Recreation parks is another one, So those types of things would be secondary. Tertiary, third, should be extras that when a community is feeling rich, essentially, or when the budgets, we're getting money from state and federal sources, and we're feeling like we can give more to charitable organizations, that's when, that line item, in my opinion, should grow. But starting in 2018, I think it was, 2019, the generosity of town meeting was starting to get out of whack, I think, by adding more and more money to that pot. And of course, you remember if you were there back then, I think you were, there were all kinds of efforts to raise it to like 10%.
Right.
And 5%.
Yeah,
and the body, to give them credit, they were like, no, that's getting a little crazy. But I think it's too high now. I am not of the opinion that we should zero it out because there is a movement for that, right? I am not of that opinion because that also would be very disruptive to the very good organizations that rely on a certain amount of money from the town. But to think that small amount of money that you're giving to Groundworks, that you're giving to the Boys and Girls Club, should be related in any way to what we do for the police, it's completely apples and oranges.
Right.
Because the police is what we should be spending our tax money on.
That's our sole job.
Exactly.
Right.
The police do not get money from elsewhere. So Groundworks does. They have a 3-point. I'm not going to pick on them because I give that personally to Groundworks. I support the organization. But as they have a $3.3, I believe, $1 million budget from their reporting from last year.
Right.
To say that, giving them $50,000 or $100,000 is going to make a huge impact on that budget, it's ridiculous because that's what they have development directors for.
Right.
They put together multiple sources. And people should be able to give according to their own family's needs. It shouldn't be a situation where every single person who is paying into taxes should be forced to be given a lot of money. Token amounts, $120,000, maybe $200,000, makes a lot of sense. But you're pushing into $500,000, you have some explaining to do for our taxpayers.
Yep. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's like I said, it's been coming up a lot lately. I've gotten a quick lesson as to everybody likes to compare everything to what other towns are doing, what other states are doing. I'm sort of a.
Can I just say that's part of the why I'm running. It's not that I'm gunning for that line item.
No,
but a lot of my frustration in the 6 years that I served was, hey, everyone, don't want to sound like a Grinch, but giving this much to human services is part of the problem. Like, we have to concentrate on what the purpose of town government is.
Right. Yep. No.
And now it feels like somebody's listening. So it's great to sort of have that conversation going on. That excites me about joining the board again.
When the budget was proposed in its original form, I mean, it was a knee buckling percentage, right? So now we need to take a look at everything, and this is one of the things that has been pulled into the big. I'm kind of along your line of thinking. I think maybe you give as a person. I give when I can, and I give and I dig deep. But there are certain times where I just have to say I can't give as much as I did, or something. So I think that's kind of how the town has to approach.
And when Liz McLaughlin, says, I'm okay with everyone paying $300 more. And that her comment was referring to the average amount more.
Right.
Like, well, gosh, I just paid $300 more last year, and now I'm going to pay another $300 more. that's when people, sit around the dinner table and said, I don't know if we can give that $100 to Groundworks because we're going to be paying $300 more to our taxes. So that starts to hurt our nonprofits.
Right.
It really does.
All right. Let's closing statements.
Let's take some calls.
Yeah.
It just feels like
it feels like we should launch into that. So give me the 10 words. Why should people step into the booth and check your box?
Gosh, hadn't thought of it. It's early in the campaign.
Those are your 10 words?
Perfect. I think when you vote for me, which I'll be at the bottom of the ballot because just face it, W doesn't really fare that well. No. Do we have any Z's? I don't think so.
Any A-ones?
But I think you know what you're getting when you vote for Tim Wessel. And I think I'm fine with that. You're getting a sensible voice. You're getting the voice of experience. You're getting somebody who, when honestly town staff comes before the select board and needs money for a project, the first thing I'm going to say is, do we need this project? And how does it balance out, as we have all these conversations that heads towards budget season, that's when you have to start thinking about it, is August through October.
Yep.
You don't start thinking about it on January 1st. So I think people will have, am I up to 10 words yet?
I think we've exceeded it a little bit. But
I think people know what they're getting. And if you like the idea of having a town advocate who's a radical centrist, vote for me.
All right, Tim Wessel, good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks for jumping on Vermontitude.
Yeah, thank you again for having me on.